This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.
That's number one. You kind of reset your
painful, tender to the touch. May also
same shoulder length, and the other. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Real Health Podcast with Brandi and Amir. I am Dr. Amir Rashidian, a chiropractor, and Brandi Rashidian is
not a chiropractor,
honorary chiropractor, and the wizard, the brains,
you're so funny.
The looks. Have you had coffee today?
Yeah, I think it's gone. I'm sad.
I'm having a little bit now.
Yay. Well, it's chilly outside. We just wrapped up Thanksgiving.
That's right.
That was good. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Mm-hmm. It was very nice.
I hope some of our friends out there had a good Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Happy belated Thanksgiving to everyone. And holidays are upon us.
I know.
Fast, I guess. Yeah, we're moving right along. By the time they see this, it's probably going to be 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, right? The 8th? Okay. So, yeah.
So next week?
It'll be a week after, a little over a week after Thanksgiving. So,
that's okay.
And we are currently 3-4 days after Thanksgiving. Or no, this is 6 days after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
It's already Wednesday. But the sun came out. We had some icy rain yesterday here in Frederick.
I know. The kids stayed home.
My friend in Massachusetts had over a foot of snow today.
Oh.
He like in the middle of our accountability call, he ran out and snow plowed his driveway and came back. Like he just disappeared. 10 minutes later, he was back. He said, "Yeah, my wife was outside in her nightgown, and I thought I'd go." Run the snowblower real quick.
That's hilarious.
But that's life up north, I guess.
Well, I spent all morning bucketing water out of our basement. That was so fun.
That's right. So you know how to repair foundations. Give us a call.
Yeah. I'm a little sore today. My hands.
Our home is leaking. But we got a lot of stuff today. And this is going to be a very big surprise to everybody. I have stacks of paper in front of me, and I have no idea where I'm going to start or where I'm going to end. But let me tell you first, the Real Health Podcast is brought to you by the Frederick Podcast Network. It is found on listenfrederick.com along with YouTube and Spotify and iTunes and iHeartRadio and all the other places. And our purpose for doing this is to bring you mainstream media information regarding health and make it a wellness perspective for you and help you put it to use in your personal life so that you can feel better, get stronger, live longer, and feel younger.
I love it.
Now, we have this 3-letter agency or organization in the government that...
I was like, there's a lot of 3-letter.
Yeah. It's not 4 letters.
No.
That's different. And it ends with an F and ends with an A.
True. True.
Too much coffee.
Something. I don't know. I struggled with speaking last podcast. I struggled with reading. Let's see if I
think you contracted my dyslexia.
I may have.
I am cured and you're not. Although I had a dyslexic moment a couple episodes ago.
Well, you actually had one on the phone today.
We turned it into a short. Yeah, it was so funny.
Or last night.
I go, all right, let me read you these numbers. 898. Wait, stop.
Not the
It's
right
989. But here's the amazing thing is I literally saw it that way.
Yeah.
Then when I looked at it again, I go, that's a little different. It just changed.
Numbers jumping on the page.
So now I don't know what's true. So anyways, what's crew? The new word for true is crew. And so anyways, it is the FDA. I want to talk about the FDA today, but not the way you think, because usually we bash the FDA. We I don't know, criticize them at the highest level. We call them all kinds of names like not smart decision makers and poor policy institutors and whatever else.
I just call them tutors.
Terrible. Yeah. Terrible words you can think of. But so last week, I think November 25th, Patrick Bet-David, who's my favorite podcaster, interviewed
besides me
the FDA.
It's your second favorite podcaster.
Okay. My favorite male podcaster. How's that? And he interviewed the commissioner of the FDA. He was appointed by the Trump administration. He's been at the job, I guess, less than a year. And I was very surprised as to how he speaks, what he says. And so I'm going to have to take back
Well,
some of the
no.
things I've said.
No, they were true up to right now.
Well, let's just say some of the things I've said in criticism don't apply to him. His name is Mark, right? Mark McCary, Marty. Sorry, Marty McCary, and or Martin, but they call him Marty, I believe. Anyways, I was impressed. I enjoyed listening to the conversation. It was
Well, let
nearly
me
2
tell you.
hours long, and maybe we should put a link somewhere so you guys can watch the whole interview. I recommend you do, because it gave me some hope as to maybe the FDA can finally use its powers for good as opposed to evil.
Well, here's something really funny. The CDC also has a newly appointed
I saw
individual,
that. Yeah.
and very much like him, people are a little bit angry that there's some that
that
are
was in
angry.
New York Times, right?
Mhm.
Read the title.
Doctors critical of vaccines quietly appointed as CDC's second in command.
That's pretty amazing. For someone critical of vaccines to be appointed second in command with the CDC.
Well, what's funny is no one talked about it. It was very hush-hush. It was never publicized like massively.
Well, and in the direction that the New York Times usually leans,
Oh, this
I would
leans.
assume it's a very negative point of view of what's happening.
Of course.
But
we're going to
maybe we
extrapolate
can
some of that.
neutralize that negativity just a little bit, because why wouldn't you someone who's critical of something we're doing to be in command? Why
Right.
wouldn't you want someone to question things?
Here's the last thing we want. The last thing we want is to continue to do what we've always done, because that's the way it's been done, and to never have somebody come in and question that. Like we've had team members in the past who've been like, y'all make too many changes. Like, because we're continually evaluating our processes, our procedures, and we course correct where we need to. If we've had a patient who had a bad experience from something, and it's something that we legitimately need to fix, or we look at every single thing like that and we go, what's going well? What do we need to fix? What's not going well? Like, you have to be willing to look at that, look internally and go, am I the problem?
Right.
Or is a process the problem, or is it the person? Like,
Right.
It could be one of three, it could be all three, but you have to be willing to do that. And it's scary to me that we have government agencies like CDC, FDA that are making massive decisions about every single person in this country. And we want the people at the top to just keep doing what everybody's doing. Heck no. We want people to stop and go, is this still correct? Does the science still work? I don't know if the science ever worked on some of these, because there's often massive delays in us even getting to see the research in full. It's actually scary. Sometimes there's a 50 to 70 year delay in us receiving the information that's requested, so we can see if what they're saying is in full accurate.
Right.
Because it's not always.
Yeah.
And so that's what's frustrating. So why in the world would you not want somebody at the top that questions things instead of goes with the mainstream, what everybody else is doing? Let me ask you, how many of us tell our kids, don't do what other people are doing just for the sake of doing it? You need to think for yourselves.
Right.
How many parents say this? Because I had my parents say this to me. If everyone else was walking off of a cliff, would you also walk off of the cliff? It's utter stupidity. You would not. We train our kids not to be sheep. So why in the heck would we want sheep? And I like sheep for the most part. There's great qualities in sheep.
As long as they have a shepherd.
Right. But if you have somebody at the top who is a sheep and not shepherding, you will always have problems.
And you got to be bold, and you got to be slightly confrontational, and
why would you not want conversation?
You have to be willing to stand for what is true at the same time. I think a leader needs to put their own desires at bay. Not at bay, but they have to just focus on what is the desire, what is the need, what is the benefit of the people that I'm leading, as opposed to what I really want.
As a leader, you have to continually check your motives.
Leaders are servants.
Yeah.
At the highest level, they're servants.
Yeah. You're not untouchable.
Right.
As a leader, you literally take on the full
Yeah.
responsibility of everything happening in your organization
And if you
and for the
fail
people
to
that you're serving.
listen to the people you're serving,
Mm.
fail to listen to the people you're leading, you are not a leader.
Nope.
You need to listen with an unbiased ear. Here's one of the quotes. Now, this is a paraphrase. This is what Dr. Marty McCary said. He said, when the same companies that profit from the products are funding the research and influencing guidelines, you can't pretend the process is completely objective.
Right.
Come on.
I mean, they
Who would
say
have
that.
thought the commissioner of the FDA would ever say this?
Well, and here's the reality though. They will pull that out if one side wants to have a stance on something, right?
Mhm.
And then they'll use that same argument.
Yeah.
But like you said, we have to be fearless at the top. You have to be willing to go against the grain. You have to be willing to look at both sides of the coin
Yeah.
and then help people make the best decisions for themselves.
Right. We need to be okay with having conversations.
Yeah. Why would you not want to have a conversation?
Let's talk. Let's
It's
sit
called
down.
knowledge
Yeah,
and
let's-
wisdom.
Let me know what your concerns are. I'll tell you my concerns, and then let's come up with a solution. Ultimately, the FDA is supposed to protect people.
Right.
FDA is supposed to make sure that profit doesn't harm people. Not that profit is a bad thing. Profit's fine
Yeah.
as long as you're making the world a better place. But if you're killing people and profiting from that,
Right.
that's a whole different
If your
thing.
goal is to profit alone, that is not why anyone should be in business. Like
Yeah.
there has to be a bigger why for anything that you do. I was talking to the boys about that the other night. I'm like, your why has to be bigger than someone else's why in order to literally beat them out.
Yeah.
Right? You can't want certain things and not do the things that are required in order to be successful at that.
Right.
Like there's a process, there's rules of
Yeah,
of the
and
world.
don't get me wrong. This is not a bro this between me and this
that's
commissioner.
called a bromance.
A bromance. Sorry, I don't even know how to. I've never had one. This could be my first bromance. Who knows? But anyways, I'm not gonna say this guy is amazing and incredible and awesome. I'm just telling you some of the things, most of the things he talked about. I felt like for the first time, there's somebody in a position of influence who sounds a little bit like us. Because you know, if you're anti-mainstream medicine, you're a little bit of a rebel. And you often are in an island and you feel completely alone.
Yep.
You and your ball named Wilson.
Yeah. That's why it's so funny because that's why groups hang out together, right? That's why
Yeah.
chiropractors all hang out with other chiropractors.
Right.
That's why neurologists, I'm sure they have their own like conferences and they all just hang out together.
No. A lot of them just drink themselves by themselves all alone.
Really?
Well, I was at a conference, and this side of the hotel, the ballroom was a chiropractic conference, and the other side was an orthopedic surgeons conference.
Oh.
And so, and we had some students that are considering becoming chiropractors, and they had come to see what chiropractors are like. But then they found out there's an orthopedic surgeon conference there, and so they wanted to talk to the orthopedic surgeons, and so they had to go to the bar. None of the chiropractors were at the bar drinking, like at breaks, but all the orthopedic surgeons were at the bar drinking.
Wow.
No offense if you're an orthopedic surgeon, listen, but they were all drinking. And so the students would go and talk to them and then come tell us what they're saying. They were like, yeah, most of them are divorced and they're depressed. And they all said, don't do it. Don't become an orthopedic surgeon.
Wow. Well, I mean,
This is from the
There-
horse's mouth.
I think most people, when they go into medicine, they go in with the right intentions, right? I don't think most go in
Right.
and do it just for the money.
I'm
because the
not
risk
saying
factor
it's
is so
all
high.
roses and sunshine being a chiropractor either.
No.
Listen, here's a fact. Roughly, and I don't have the data behind this, but I've heard this number multiple places from multiple people at different times, that 50% of chiropractors are not practicing chiropractic within 5 years out of school.
I believe that.
5 years. And we had
We've
one.
seen it.
Yeah, we've had how many of our two of our former employees are no longer practicing chiropractic.
Right.
And they were chiropractors in our organization.
Yep.
2 of them. 2 out of, I don't know, how many, 20, 10, 15 we've had employed. So there's
shame.
problems with this too. Chiropractic is we don't get referrals from other practitioners as much as you would think.
I think a lot of it boils down to this is I don't think medicine or being in healthcare in general, it really is a thankless job.
Yeah, but chiropractors have the lowest rate of drug abuse, lowest rate of
Correct.
addiction, lowest rates of suicide
Correct.
of any healthcare practitioner.
Right. Well, what I was trying to say before about the orthopedist in the bar is I don't think anyone goes into practicing medicine. There's probably a few. The vast majority go in, I'm sure, with intentions of helping patients and being able to make a difference. And then they get out of school and they wind up in this broken system that does not allow them to treat the patients as they would like to treat them. Not to mention their education is so geared into a specific formula so that pharmaceuticals are so up at the top, and then everything else is second. And so how can they really be the kind of doctor they went into medicine to be when all they get to do is give pharmaceuticals to people and then cut them open and hope that everything goes well? Some of those surgeries are necessary for sure. Right?
I agree.
But the vast majority are not. And I think a lot of them know that.
Yeah.
How can that impact you psychologically, mentally, emotionally, if you're being forced to do things that you know may not be in the patient's best interest? But it's in the best interest of the insurance company, it's in the best interest of the pharmaceutical company, it's in the best interest of the hospital, so everybody can make their money regardless of how that patient turns out. You, as one surgeon, you can't fix an entire system. So those guys that go into medicine with great intentions probably are slowly beaten to death to where all they want to do is go sit and drink. And that is not all surgeons, for sure, not all doctors. So we're not blanket statementing things, but there is a good number of them that fit into that profile. And that's sad. Because we had a lot of people going into medicine with the right intentions, and then our system breaks us.
I agree. Well, let me tell you, on this podcast, not on ours, but on the Patrick Bet-David podcast, Dr. Marty McCary and PBD discussed these topics. They talked about the risk around common pain relievers, and Dr. McCary's concern was that they are not as safe as we think they are, that the medical model has been trying to get people to believe that over-the-counter painkillers and pain relievers are perfectly safe because you don't need a prescription for them, but they are just as toxic and just as harmful as any other medication. Unfortunately, the problem is, and this wasn't spoken about on the podcast, but this is something that I hear quite often from other medical doctors, is that they don't get a whole lot of training on over-the-counter meds.
Yeah.
Their training is on mostly prescription meds. They talked about vaccine safety, skepticism, regulatory critique. They said a big part of the conversations centered on vaccines, safety profiles, public trust, regulatory oversight, and how vaccine-related science and policy have been handled by institutions like the National Institutes of Health and the FDA during and after COVID-19. That was an amazing conversation to hear.
Yeah.
Open and honest, no holds barred conversation. Here's what I think, and this is the head of the FDA doing this. I never thought in my lifetime I would see that. They talked about the autism debate and possible links and concerns. They touch on controversial and deeply emotional topics. Autism, vaccine policy, public health, including potential long-term developmental considerations that many in the public feel strongly about. They talked about, so it says McCary doesn't shy away from critiquing how things were managed at the highest level, from regulatory decisions to how information was communicated to the public. This is during COVID-19. And he's very critical of how we handle all that. He mentioned Anthony Fauci multiple times, said he did not agree with how Fauci handled a lot of this stuff. On the podcast, in the interview, he talked about there was a call for more transparency and reevaluation of accepted common wisdom around drugs and vaccines. Implicit in many of McCarry's remarks is a push for skepticism and re-examination. Who would have thought the head of the FDA would say, be skeptic, be skeptical of some of these things that we have said is perfectly safe or routine or it should be done regularly. He's encouraging the public to debate rather than blind trust in institutions.
And why would you not want that? Like, you ask any parent of a child who has autism or a spectrum disorder, ask them if they would like open conversations to see if some of these things could be the impact for other parents, so that they don't have to go through the same things that their child had to go through and that them as a family had to go through. Like, if we can reduce, I mean, if we cannot all agree that the instances of autism are so dramatically higher now than they were 50 years ago, come on. Like, just do your regular research. There is something that has changed over the last 50 years, probably less than that, that has created such a spike in broad spectrum disorders, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, obesity. Some of these are lifestyle diseases. Some are not. And so you go, what is it that's changed? Who would not want to have that conversation? It's so absurd that we just want to go, I don't know, I'm sure everything's fine. It's not fine. The food is not fine. Some of the stuff in the vaccines is not fine. Some of these ingredients in the pharmaceuticals, not fine. Let's not even get started on our food. That is absolutely, absurdly not fine. It's actually quite the opposite. These things
He
can
talked about
be
that.
dangerous.
I'll read you direct quotes from the FDA director talking about what we've done to food. And he's literally criticizing his own organization because the only reason we did it is because the FDA approved those things.
Right.
So we need conversation about non-pharmaceutical alternatives, lifestyle-based pain management, and the role of chiropractic in reducing reliance on drugs. There was a study, I wrote about it in my book, where in Illinois, they had two groups of people. One used chiropractors as their primary care physician, and the other group used traditional medical doctors. And you should see the data. I mean, I should pull it up on our next podcast, but the percentage of medication use dropped by close to 80%, I think. Doctors' offices dropped to 60%. Unnecessary surgery dropped by 50-60%. Cost dropped by 60-70%. Unbelievable. Now imagine if we did that across the country. Now, I'm not saying every chiropractor is qualified to be a primary care physician, but I can promise you every single chiropractor, these are doctors, guys. Now, I know there's a lot of people who say chiropractors aren't real doctors. The only reason they say that is because we don't prescribe medication, but that doesn't mean we're dumb.
And we don't want to.
And right, we choose not to, and we wouldn't want that. We have medical doctors who can do that, and we have pharmacists that are very educated in what pharmaceuticals are. But one thing chiropractors do know, and I promise you they all do, is they know when a person needs medicine and when they don't.
100%.
And so when you go to a chiropractor and they tell you, let's try this or let's try that before you resort to medication and surgery, they know what they're talking about. And if they say, no, you got to go get a prescription, they know what they're talking about there too.
Right.
They may not know what drug. We need to discuss vaccine policy, long-term safety, informed consent in a nuanced, balanced way. I would say this would resonate with people who are already critical of the one-size-fits-all medical advice.
Everyone should be critical of a one-size-fits-all. Has anyone ever bought one-size-fits-all clothing?
Doesn't fit all.
It does not fit all. And it certainly doesn't fit the way you would like it to. So there is something inherently wrong with that philosophy, especially when it comes to health. Health is never a one-size-fits-all. Matter of fact, it was so funny because when one of my doctors once was trying to get me to take a medication. And I was like, nope, don't want to do it. Nope, I don't want to do it. Nope, please. And it was like him and I worked together for years before I would ever go, okay, I'll try it. And I made him go through. I'm like, nope, look at the side effects on that. That's atrocious. I'm a higher risk in that area. I don't think that's safe. He goes, you're right. It's not safe. Okay, cool. Let's go to the next one. So him and I literally processed through it. You came to a couple of those conversations, so respectful. It was so great that he said to me once, he goes, no medications. You don't have to wear that like a badge of honor. I go, really? It is a badge of honor. I go, how much easier would it be?
Why wouldn't you be proud of the fact that you're not dependent on any medication?
But it makes his job easier because I said, here's the reality is if I'm not taking anything else, then whatever you prescribe for me, you can see what it truly does in my system.
Yeah.
But if I'm on something else, you don't know what's happening and why it's happening. It's all like, I don't know. It could be this. It could be this. It could be a side effect. It could be an interaction. It could have a shared pathway in the liver. It could blah, blah. It's a bazillion things. So, while he was fantastic, it was like that one comment. I was like, oh, you're so good in so many areas, but that is the wrong philosophy.
Yeah.
Like you should be commending people when they're not on a medication. Like, and then when I did need something, my body processed it very different. Oh, I'm so surprised. You're an anomaly. You didn't have this. You didn't have this. I'm like, it's not fighting against anything else. And he's like, oh, I didn't think about that. Well, I do think about those things.
Yeah, because even Einstein said you can't solve the problems with the same level of thinking they created those problems. If some of the drugs we're taking cause some of the problems we're dealing with, then we need a different mindset. We need someone with a different perspective to come in and say, have you thought about this? So think about this. This is what our FDA director says. He says, we've got to study environmental exposures that cause cancer, not just the chemotherapy to treat it. Hey, that's what I want. That's all I want.
Yeah.
And he's not saying don't study the chemotherapy to treat it. He's like, keep doing that.
But let's study other things too.
See if we can prevent some of this cancer.
Somebody finally talking about true prevention, not detection.
He said
detection.
maybe we need, these are in other interviews, not the one with the Patrick Bet-David podcast. He said maybe we need to treat more diabetes with cooking classes than just giving people medication.
What? Come on. You want to train people to be healthy?
I thought you were the only one that cooked these days.
I don't even do it nearly as much as I should.
He said maybe we need to treat more high blood pressure by talking about sleep quality and stress management. Come on. Like he's talking, let's look at the cause of high blood pressure, not just suppress it. That's nice.
It is. It's like when you start hearing someone
warms my heart.
Talk about those kinds of things. It's like hearing angel music in the background. Like it's like, oh, you get so, it's like so peaceful to hear somebody finally saying, let's look at things differently.
Here's another quote you might like. He said, the FDA has had periods where it's been captured by the industry it's supposed to regulate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know what captured means?
Yes.
Padded pockets. He is rewriting the food pyramid because the food guidance has been misinformation. That's what he said.
What? Are you kidding me?
He said we need to add saturated fat back to the foods that we eat. Thank you. Do you guys know? Now listen, you're going to misquote me on this. If this becomes a short and you all pass it around, whatever, but I'm giving you the disclaimer right now so the attorneys don't turn over and push pause or whatever. But listen, when I was growing up 50 years ago, 40 some years ago, we had this big metal tub in the lower cabinet where the oven was, next to the oven or the stove. And there was a wooden spoon, and we would take a big scoop of lard. This is animal solid saturated fat.
Oh, yeah.
We'd throw it in the pan and cook whatever we want in it.
Yeah.
And guess what? Heart disease was rare 40 years ago. Ask ChatGPT. What was the prevalence?
We had a lard tin too.
What's that?
We had a lard tin too.
There you go. It wasn't just in Iran.
No.
Yeah. Well, it's solid fat, and solid saturated animal fat is anti-inflammatory. When you reduce inflammation in the body, chances of heart disease go down.
What was my question?
What's the prevalence of heart disease today as compared to 40 years ago? I'm looking forward to that new food pyramid. Thank you, Dr. McCary. I'm telling you, I am feeling more optimistic about this FDA as ever before. And even if he doesn't manage to change everything he says he will, at least the conversation is being had when before we couldn't even talk about these things. I'll read you another quote from him. This is a paraphrase. It's not a direct quote because I couldn't get the exact transcript of the podcast. He said, "We now have enough evidence that prenatal acetaminophen is associated with increased risk of autism and neurodevelopmental problems." He said that information should already be on the label. Put it there. Pull all bottles of Tylenol and put it on the label. What'd you find out?
Well, I had to re-ask the question because I just said, "What's the prevalence?" He goes, "Prevalence of what?" So, let's see. According to 2025 analysis, age-adjusted heart disease deaths, it says that is that what we're looking at? Heart disease deaths fell by 66%. So it's saying that it actually fell, which is not. So I don't think.
No, I just want prevalence of heart disease because we're way better at treating it. We're putting stents in without open heart surgery. We're replacing valves without cracking people's chests open. Like that technology has advanced drastically. Less people are dying from heart disease. That's for sure.
This is a little bit off topic by what this is. It's giving me this almost the same thing. It keeps wanting to go with death and not just disease.
Anyways, and the death is probably a percentage thing, but I can just tell you from personal experience, growing up, I only knew one person who had a heart attack during my childhood.
Yeah. Oh, it was so rare. Cancer was rare too.
Cancer was rare, and so was heart disease. Now, everybody we know, at least half the people we know, either have diabetes or heart disease.
Yeah, or cancer. Cancer is atrocious now.
Yeah.
When my mom got cancer, when she was diagnosed, hospice was just getting started. They were a young organization. I don't even know if they were nationwide at the time. Like they were really, really young. So if you see like where hospice was then versus where they are now, they would not have grown to the organization that they are now if there had been the same or less prevalence of cancer. You only see that kind of growth with need. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I know exactly what you mean. I wonder if we can ask Grok.
Yeah, Grok might be better. While you're doing that, here was something that was very fascinating too, is there was a big push in food, and I know we're going to be talking about, here and there, talking about food safety and whatnot, and we're talking about the food pyramid. Well, I don't know if everyone heard about the big Campbell's Soup, the VP of Campbell's Soup, and how he admitted on video that their food is biologically engineered and 3D printed. The meat is actually 3D printed.
Disgusting.
Right. And so now they haven't notated that on their, or we hadn't noticed, right? That anything is on the can that relates to that. Well, here's why. So years ago, they had the whole GMO, non-GMO labeling that had to take place, right? That was a big thing. Well, the food companies then went to, I think it was to the FDA to then discuss labeling and how everyone in the States is now freaked out about GMOs, and they don't want to keep causing like so much stress to people. So they want to change the labeling so it's not quite as obvious. And so they no longer, so it's been, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, maybe longer, that they actually went to the FDA to ask to be able to change the labeling. And come to find out, it was approved, but it was slowly done. So now you need to go and look at your labels on every single kind of packaged food that you purchase. And you're going to now, they don't have to put GMO, non-GMO. So now it says biologically engineered. is now the verbiage that you have. And sometimes all you get is a QR code for more information. So have your phone out and you will see anything that says biologically engineered. Very small, you have to look for it or look at that QR code, and that's where you're going to find that information.
Yeah.
And literally, I would be surprised if you can find many items at all that do not have that now.
Yeah.
So we're talking about unknowingly, it has now been done that we are eating food that is actually not food. It is not from a natural source. It's created in a lab. And they're calling it food, and that is not what it is. And this is not just a slippery slope. This is a ledge that we have fallen off.
Oh, yeah.
And it is disgusting and it's sick. And
Well, getting back to saturated fat in our diet, 1980, 45 years ago, prevalence of heart disease in U.S. adults was between 30 and 35%. Today, it's 48%.
that's a huge increase.
There you go. Obesity was 15% in 1980. Roughly for 15% of Americans were obese.
Yeah.
What
Most
is
of
it?
them were not children.
What is it today?
Oh, gosh.
42%.
I was going to say close to 50.
42%. So we took supposedly we replaced sugar with artificial sweeteners, and we took saturated fat out
So much better.
and replaced it with processed carbs, assuming that's going to make everybody healthier. Well, obesity went up from 15 to 42%, and heart disease went from 30 to 48%.
Right. Well, let's step back to 2 sentences. It was under the guise of making people healthier. I don't think that was ever the intention. I really do not believe. It is absolutely absurd.
Oh, we can't prove that.
But it's just called logic. You cannot assume
maybe I'm
that
wrong.
someone can take
Here's
food, which
how
is
you
what,
can-
hold on, let me finish. That somebody can take food that is made for the body, replace it with something synthetic, and have any idea that that's going to be better. It's absurd.
No, it's not necessarily synthetic. Back then, they just said stop eating fat. But what I'm
Artificial
saying is,
sugar is synthetic.
Once they saw, no, I'm talking about saturated fat. They said fat's bad. Take fat out of your diet. Don't eat any fat. And then obesity started to climb.
Right.
And so did heart disease.
I understand that.
I don't think they did it with the intention of harming people. What they did do was they continued it with the intention of harming people. So originally,
I don't think they went into it with the intention of helping people. I think they did it to pocket the income from it. And I don't think health was ever in the conversation, which is why it never came back into the conversation. You cannot do those things thinking it's going to make someone healthy, knowing it's not, and then come back and start talking about health later. It's never going to happen. And that's why we're 50 years later.
And so now you've got the commissioner of the FDA saying, we're going to put saturated fat, animal fat, back into the American diet.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing that's going to pad his pockets by doing this.
Correct.
In fact, a lot of animals are going to be a little upset. and
Or the animal rights people.
So, yes.
Vegans, not happy.
And yet, he's going to get massive pushback.
Oh, yeah.
From administration to regulators to public to anyone.
The people that are making money from it are going to be mad.
Anyone who's but even people who have political orientations think that it's a political thing. Where I go, no, this is health. It's not political. And believe it or not, he wants everybody on both sides of the aisle to be healthy.
Right. Not just one side or the other.
And I still believe what Dr. Ben Carson said back at the National Prayer Breakfast, the President's National Prayer Breakfast. This was back in 2013, 2012. He said an eagle has a right wing and a left wing.
Right.
Without one, it can't fly.
Correct.
We have a right arm and a left arm. We want both of them.
Right.
And so, listen, it's not about a political thing, even though people like to politicize everything. Let's not. Let's stop doing that. He said, oh my gosh, some of these quotes are good. He said, when credible safety signals emerge, the public shouldn't wait years. The data should be shared in real time so families can make informed decisions. That's my favorite part is families make informed decisions. Not the government decide for families. Families decide for themselves.
Correct.
He said, we made sweeping COVID policies with weak or evolving evidence, then doubled down instead of admitting uncertainty and adjusting as new data came in.
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone knows that by now. Another paraphrase, he said, if we want to restore trust, we have to admit that we went wrong, disclose conflicts of interest, and stop pretending the science was settled when it wasn't.
Well, right before we started this and we were getting ready to talk about this, I mentioned there was just, and I'll get out my tin hat if you want, but for the past 50 plus years, the government has been telling people who have had these alien encounters that nothing exists. Now they put out a movie called The Age of Disclosure where they go, oh, just kidding, everything did exist. Now, we can talk on a separate podcast on what I actually think that is, but I don't think it's aliens. But the reality is now they're coming out 50, 70 years later going, oh, yeah, that was all misinformation. We did that deliberately. We had to hide. So if you're willing to do that and you come out so many times and are like, oh, yeah, we lied about that. Oh, yeah, that really does exist. Oh, yeah, that doesn't exist. Oh, yeah. At what point are we supposed to believe you? Like, at what point?
Yeah.
The misinformation is so high, the amount that's out there, and how much of it is pushed by government agencies, by this political side, by this political side. Everybody's done it.
Yeah,
I'm so
I don't
tired
know.
of it.
I don't know if we'll ever know the truth. And don't get Brandi started on the moon landing. That's a whole different thing. That's if she wants to talk about that, she's gonna do it with you guys on another episode, maybe. It'll be the real.
I am not
It'll
alone
be
in-
it won't be real health podcast. It'll be a real Earth podcast. It
I
rhymes.
have many things that we could talk about that are definitely fringy in
Yes.
all facets.
All right.
Of
Some of them are
information.
enjoying it. Some of them they're like, do it now, and the others are like, oh, come on. So here's what McCary said. Again, I'm paraphrasing. This is not a direct quote, but he said this was on Instagram. He said we should be able to talk honestly about vaccine risks and benefits without labeling people as anti-science. Censorship didn't help public health. Public health.
Right. Thank you for saying that.
Sweet.
Censorship is never what we want.
He said autism is not one thing with one cause. There are multiple biological pathways, and we're finally starting to untangle them. Drugs, environmental exposures, and more. He's open to looking at this stuff. Come on. This is nice.
That's awesome.
Instead of fixing, near the end of the podcast, this actually blew me away. Dr. McCary blasts what he calls the medicalization of childhood obesity. He says we should be talking about school lunches and fixing the food environment, not just putting every 6-year-old on Ozempic.
Yes.
Patrick Bet-David adds that the American Academy of Pediatrics is now pushing to lower the age for these GLP-1 weight loss drugs from 12 to 6. Now, I looked it up, and it wasn't 12 to 6. They're trying to reduce it to 12 to 8. But still, what's the difference? 8, 6?
Still doesn't matter. They're still in developmental.
McCary's point is that this is not the kid's fault. We have engineered a food supply loaded with ultra-processed products, petroleum-based dyes, and sugar-heavy foods that create a kind of glycemic addiction. Kids are pounded with these foods all day because become metabolically sick, and then the system's answer is to label them and medicate them.
Yes.
Instead of doubling down on drugs God, I'm getting emotional. They're putting kids on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of doubling down on drugs for younger and younger children, he argues we should overhaul school lunches, the food pyramid, and the entire environment we're raising kids in.
All we have to do is look at what Japan is doing, right? So they actually have a nutritionist who oversees the school lunches. Kids are not allowed to bring food in. They cannot bring home lunches.
Wow.
They actually teach the kids when it's lunchtime, this is what we have. This is why. This is what it does for your body.
Now, Japan's also the same country that's cloning humans right now.
Well, some things are good, some things are not.
Yeah, at least the humans they clone are going to grow up in healthy schools.
Yeah, but also look at the same disease processes are not as prevalent in their community. Look at
Yeah.
obesity, almost non-existent.
Do you know in Japan, breast cancer is very rare
Right.
because they have iodine in their diet because of seafood.
Yeah. So I think
Real
there's,
seafood caught from the ocean, not like
Right.
farm raised.
there are definitely things that we can be doing differently. Although, I mean, there's a lot of things. If other countries are looking at us, I would be like, do not do that. Like, don't look at us for health and wellness. Don't look at us when it comes to our food. Like, we are the last people you
Oh,
want to
yeah.
be looking at. But there are other countries that do things better. UK, way better
Do
when
you
it
know
comes
what
to what
McCary
they allow
said?
in the
And this
food.
wasn't in our notes, but McCary during the podcast with Patrick Bet David, he said he's had patients. The guy is very educated. He said he's had patients who were sick, and he said, go to Europe for a month. He goes, these sick people go to Europe for a month. They do nothing else but go to Europe and eat European food, and they get healthy and they come back. They don't have any of those diseases that they had just by changing their food.
Just the food.
That's in the podcast. I hope you guys watched the whole interview. It was phenomenal.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for today.
Listen, guys, it breaks my heart every time I see a child who's obese. We got to change this.
Yeah.
We got to help them. It breaks my heart for anybody who's obese, but especially children.
And just putting them on a medication like that is not the answer.
No, absolutely not. We know what it takes to raise healthy kids. Yep. We just got to do it. And it's not easy.
It's actually the same thing you give to a plant. Good sunlight, good water, good food.
Nutritious, yeah. There you go.
And movement.
Anyways, God bless you all. Thank you for listening.
Live radio, local podcasts, the Frederick Podcast Network at listenfrederick.com.